Hello, this is Peter Jermain. Today is June 20th, 2020. Here are the notes that I'm going to be using for this video, and the topic for discussion is going to be the dissection of a cow eyeball, which you can see here. It's a whole cow eyeball where the adjacent fat and muscle tissue has been excised, leaving just the eyeball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out some of the more important anatomical structures of the eye. So I'm going to start with the cornea. So here you can see me pointing to the cornea. The cornea is the tissue through which the light enters into the eye. And if you peel back the cornea, here you can see this dark colored structure, which is the iris. The iris helps to control the amount of light that's allowed to enter into the eye. So here is the iris, and you can see here and also here the pupil, which the pupil is the hole in the iris that ultimately allows light to be transmitted through the eye to the retina all the way at the back, which we'll get to in a minute. So if you look at this here, there's a cavity between the cornea and the iris, and that is the anterior cavity, and it contains the aqueous humor, which is a thin, clear, watery fluid. Now, if we look through here, through the pupil, here you can see the lens of the eye here. And if we look at this portion of the eye from the anterior, or rather the posterior view, you can also see the lens here. This cavity is called the posterior cavity. It makes up approximately 2/3 of the back end of the eye and contains several important optical structures, such as the retina. So again, here you can see the lens, and there is this gelatinous, colorless fluid called the vitreous humor. The vitreous humor is found in the back of the eye, and it fills the space between the lens and the retina. So now we're going to examine this portion of the eye, which is the posterior segment of the eye. And you can see several outer layers of the eyeball. The outermost layer here is the sclera. It is made of tough connective tissue. Interior to the sclera, here I'm pointing to the choroid. The choroid is the vascular layer of the eye, and it also contains some connective tissue. And then finally here, I'm pointing to the retina. And the retina is the part of the eye that converts the visual information, the light, into neural signals that travel into the brain for analysis and interpretation. And those neural signals travel from the eye to the brain via the optic nerve, which you can see here extending out the back or posterior end of the eye. So those are some of the very important anatomical and structural features of the eye, and that concludes this video. Thank you very much for your attention.